Hey y'all, and welcome back to another Southern Fried, the show that explores the South through its people. When this show was created just a few months ago, and as I've done since, I encouraged people to reach out and let me know who should be on Southern Fried. Anybody from any place in the South that would appreciate what this show is. One of the first names suggested to me was a man named Bobby Horton. I wasn't familiar with him at the time, but after just one Google search, I learned that Bobby could not be more fitting to be on this show. And I was probably a lacking Southerner not knowing who he was. An Alabama native, Mr. Horton is a talented musician who performs all over the country, solo and with his band 3 on a String. He's also worked on the scores for 19 of Ken Burns' documentary films and produced numerous albums that take you back in time to the American past. Please welcome to the show the multi-instrumentalist, composer, producer, and music historian, Bobby Horton. Hey, Bobby. Welcome to the show. I'm glad we got you on.
Oh, Charlie, thank you, man. I'm just tickled to be here. I'm glad we worked this out. This is great. This is just wonderful. I appreciate your interest in your calling because we're going to have a pleasant go here. I got a feeling.
You know, I had the phone calls and the chats that we've had leading up to this have really prepared me to think that this is going to be a lot of fun. So if you let me down, I'll lose.
Don't put pressure on me now.
Well, I couldn't be more thrilled that we're doing this. Bobby, a lot of times I like to start the show. You know, this is called Southern Fried. So I love talking to people from the South. So I think we have to give the audience some validation that you can hold up to that title. So why don't you tell us where you're from?
Okay, I was born and raised in Birmingham. I was born in 1950, so I'm officially OLD. That's what I'm suffering from. And I don't feel like it, but the calendar says that I am OLD. My family has been in Alabama since 1821.
Wow.
Yeah, Jesse Horton, my third great grandpa came in 1820 to 21, sometime, I think really 1820, but he settled in Greene County in 1821 down there close, not far from Aliceville and Utah, Alabama. And so I was in that part of the world now. And his father was Amos Horton Jr., he lived in Wake County, North Carolina. That's where Jesse came from. But Amos Horton Jr. was a captain under the Swamp Fox, Francis Marion in South Carolina during the Revolutionary War.
Oh, wow.
So my roots go way back in the Southland, you know. So, but now I will have to say this: I'm 1/4 Yankee because my daddy's mama came to Alabama in about 1898 from upstate New York.
Yeah, well, we'll still try and accept you with that.
Full disclosure here.
Well, hey, you know, I'm a Birmingham boy too, so I love it down here.
Gosh, yes. You know, traveling like I have been on the road for 50 years or more, well, actually more than that. And I just realized how wonderful Birmingham is and how wonderful Alabama is. And well, just generally, it's funny. This is Southern Fried. This is named, you know, this is about being in the South. And you know, traveling, one thing about it, people are wonderful. I mean, wonderful everywhere you go. But you can tell when you're in the South. You could be driving from Chicago or something, and you can make a stop at a truck stop or a gas station coming back, and you can without knowing where you are, you can almost tell if you're in the South.
You don't even have to read the road signs.
That's right. That's exactly right. And it's just a genteelness. I don't know if it's it's just part of being Southern, I suppose. And
yeah.
You know, I have a lot of Yankee buddies who are more Southern than I am now, you know, so, but it is a wonderful part of the world. And in fact, I had a dear friend who's now long gone, but he was from Chelmsford over in England. It's just in Sussex. And he would come over and stay with us once a year. He was a brilliant guy. He was a chemist and an anthropologist, but he was also a historian, and he was the curator of the Confederate Museum of Great Britain, and he was the world's leading authority on the Confederate Constitution. But Dennis Elding was his name, and he said that everybody he knew that ever come to the States always talks about how wonderful the South is. They all prefer coming to the South when they come over. Yeah, and it really is. I mean, there's just a sweetness about the people. I mean, we have, you know, certainly warts and everything, but most people do.
Yeah, who doesn't, right?
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, if I can expound on that a little further, if you want to, if you want to go in another direction.
Go ahead, keep going. I love it.
I got a buddy who was at Baruch College of NYU, New York University.
Yeah.
He was I forget his title, but he was a professor, and he studied race relations.
Mm.
He made a big study that actually created a lot of rumblings in the academic world, but he studied the way the majority population of the North treats minorities and the way the majority population in the South treats minorities.
Yeah.
And his conclusion was this, that in the North, the majority population embraces the group, the minority group, but they reject the individual if he tries to come into your group. He
Interesting.
said the South is probably opposite, but they will accept individuals from the other if they're nice people. That was his conclusion. Yeah, it was fascinating. And this study was done about 25 years ago, I suppose.
Well, yeah, definitely unique plays. I think it's funny you're talking about a buddy from across the pond, as they'd say. And I want to ask you, did he call all of us Yankees? You know how we call the Northerners Yankees. Are we all Yankees to him? Did he get confused?
No, I don't think so. Maybe you thought we were doodles, but maybe not. He never called us Yankees.
So you said earlier you were born and raised here. So I know a little bit kind of about your backstory about how you got into music. When you were a young boy growing up in Birmingham, what role did music kind of play in your life at that time?
Well, it's funny. You here's what you do. Well, I was a baby boomer because my dad was World War II, and
Yeah.
everybody's dad was World War II. It was amazing, and that's what drew me to love history so much, was meeting World War II guys and realizing they made history. My daddy made history. I showed my grandson just last night a Luger that he got from a German artillery officer in Tunisia in North Africa in 1942. And I showed him the gun. I got the Luger here in my house. Anyway, but it's I was surrounded by them. You play baseball, because there's so many kids. I mean, everywhere you go, you get on your bike, put your glove on. You always had your baseball glove on your bike, and because you have a pickup game everywhere. You play baseball, football, basketball on teams, and you also played music. It's just what you did. And my dad was a trumpet player, but I never heard him play because he had some damage to his teeth, in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
But I never heard him play, but I said, well, I'm going to play this trumpet when he gets older. And I started playing around with the horn when I was about 7 or 8, and my grandpa played banjo, old time banjo, 19th century style banjo. He was down in Lineville, Alabama. That was my mom's father, Papa Kemp, we called him. And he was a good old time player. And he got me started when I was young. I mean, just music was just part of my life. And I just fell in love with it. And all my guys, a lot of my buds played it too, and so we just got in competition, trying to outdo the other, but encouraging each other. It was wonderful. Got my first band going when I was in 7th grade. We had a Dixieland band, and actually we would play for Optimist clubs in town. In fact, we hit the road. We went to Jackson, Mississippi for National Convention of the Optimist Club. And we played Dixieland music. We weren't any good, but we were cute, I think. Anyway, we were at this Holiday Inn Convention Center. We got the bright idea that we'd go set up and play around the pool. Before we got through the first song, the manager came out and says, "You boys gonna have to cut this out." Had complaints. We said, "What?" Anyway, I don't know why I went there, but I just remembered it.
That's hilarious. What
Yeah.
what all kind of music was influencing your life? Was it just Southern music, or did you have other kind of influences that were impacting you?
Well, Grandpa gave me, gospel and Southern old time music, which it's really old time. It's music, 19th century string band kind of stuff. Now, my dad, listened to loved Louis and Glenn Miller, and so I grew up loving jazz and big band. And when I was 12, no, I was 11, I think it was, the Beatles came to America, and I loved them. And I was playing in a R&B band with some guys that were in their 30s when I was a freshman in high school. And there's some funny stories around that, where I got caught playing in a nightclub. But, I was playing drums and trumpet, and, that was kind of a rhythm and blues, what they call these calls. And I was singing high because my voice hadn't fallen yet. So I was having a ball. I've been messing around with music my whole life, and it's just part of life. It's just what you do. Yeah, my dad's mother was a classical pianist
Wow.
and church organist.
Is
So,
that is that the Yankee?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was. Yeah, her daddy, my great grandpa was train engineer, and he knew something about diesel technology, and Frisco Railroad down here hired him to come down, and they started messing around with diesel engines and things down here.
Yeah.
So that's how he came to Alabama, and he was a good man. I got a photograph of him sticking his head out of a 4.6 locomotive. It was his locomotive. He had a handlebar mustache and everything. He was a dude because he was a train engineer, man.
What so you are picking up the banjo and other instruments. What you play a ton of instruments now. Am I right on that?
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah,
even have a count? Could you like put that on paper?
I could go down a list as I think of them.
I think that's incredible. That's how many you have. That's like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's funny. All this, like when I play for Ken and stuff, when I do my recordings, I just do it all myself. I play all
Yeah,
the
it's
instruments, and
incredible.
well, it's you can train a monkey to collect money for you, but it's just it, it's because music theory drives every instrument that's ever been played,
Sure.
every style. It doesn't matter. It's the same theory, and once you get a handle on that and you learn it, you learn how to play an instrument.
Yeah.
Because the same music rules, govern everything.
Yeah.
It truly does, and I don't know, and it's that in itself, recording your own stuff and doing arrangements in your head, you always got something to think about. That's why I don't fall asleep driving. I think about this stuff, and I'm usually on a project and work out arrangements in my head, and people say I'm a composer and all this, but I've been studying Mozart since I was a kid. I'm not a composer at all. I'm a jackleg. I make up tunes and
Yeah.
arrange for it. I mean, but those guys are real composers. I'm really not one, but my goodness, I love them. Classical's my very favorite music, period. And I get up early in the morning every day where I can play violin, trying to learn how to play
Yeah.
classical
Wow.
music on violin. In fact, Beethoven made me look real bad this morning, truthfully, but nobody knows it but me. I told you, but don't tell anybody. He made me look like a dummy. I mean, it's just incredible. But it's like they talk to you. You get their ideas and you say, "Where did that come from? That is brilliant.
Sure.
My gosh, listen to that." And it's exciting. It's fun. You always got something to do when you play music.
Definitely. And you mentioned Ken Burns, and I talked about in the intro how many films you've worked on of his. He has this quote where he said, "I don't believe I've met anyone quite like Bobby in the ability to understand the soul of American music." So, do you feel like you relate to him when he says that about how you feel like you understand the soul of American music?
Well, I think he's just very, 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 very nice.
Oh, come on, come on.
You know, yeah, it's funny. I was talking to somebody today. I'm going to be doing a little seminar at Jack State. Looks like for their about film scoring and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So it's just the way I do it. And the key is this: if you understand, music is a universal thing, and if you want to get close to people
sure.
that you're talking about in history, you go to their music more so than their writings,
Yeah.
their letters home. For example, a soldier in the Civil War writes home. He's lying because he doesn't tell mama how bad it is because he realizes his odds of making it home are slim to none. And so, but he didn't write that stuff. So you can't believe the letters. And when the war's over that they survive, they kind of elevate their importance.
Yeah.
President Lincoln or President Davis, after it's over. And so you can't trust that. But you go to what they were singing about, and that gets to them. I mean,
Yeah.
and if you have empathy for people having to go through hard times, even though they're long dead, it doesn't matter. This is what they had to deal with. And once you have that empathy, then you can you can understand what
You
this
can relate
tune
to
meant
them
to
more,
it. Yeah, I mean, American music is so fantastic. You go back to, and that's sometime if you get a chance, Google Stephen Foster's "Hard Times Come Again No More,"
Okay.
and you listen to that, and he talks about, that one song tells you, and this is what all our ancestors have gone through. Everybody that's ever lived goes through this thing, and you look at that one song, it's timeless. It works today. It worked then, because we as human beings, life is one hard time after another, and what we long for uh, is that space between the hard times, and we try to kick that old hard times can down the road as far as we can. But it's coming, and it will be on you,
Absolutely.
And it takes so many forms. And that song points that out. So, you once you have empathy for people, then you can understand. You can get a feel through their music, because war is one of the, what's like Patton said, compared to war, all other human endeavors pale into insignificance, because war is it, man. If you don't do well, you get overrun, or you lose your life, or you lose your everything. So it's really important. But music gets people through that. I mean, it's just fantastic. It's just and once you figure that out, then you have empathy for the people. When you play their music, you kind of feeling it.
You feel, yeah.
You're feeling them through it,
I don't know how much you keep up with stuff like this, but your Spotify has over 16,000 monthly listeners. So,
oh, really? I didn't know that.
how about that? So each month, I just think what you're speaking on, like 16,000 people are going and listening to the music that you have of the Civil War era and of the, out west, and these people that we don't know and we can't talk to, but we can relate to them through this music that you have been able to put, into place by recording all these. And I think people really relate to what you're saying, and it shows by how many are actually listening to your music every month.
Well, that is so kind of you to say that. Yeah, it's funny. I got letters, I got boxes of letters that people sent to me over the years
Yeah.
that just mean so much to me, and especially kids. Um, I just, Lord blessed me so hard. And it's all this, Charlie. I had big plans, and every one of them with, and then I'm telling you the truth, and all this wonderful, these opportunities, everything fell in my lap, and I know from whence all blessings flow. Believe me, I know where that came from, and I'm thankful. And I don't take it for granted, and I'm just trying not to mess it up, because it came to me. I mean, it's a fluke that I met Ken Burns. Yeah. And then Jerry Ryan and I started a group called Three on a String back in 1971 when I was a junior in college. We didn't know we were starting anything. 54 years later, and I'm still playing with them. We had a rehearsal this morning, and that fell in my lap. Everything fell in my lap, and I'm so very, very thankful, and to my Creator for giving me a cushy life that I love every day.
Hey there, Southern Fried listeners. I hope y'all are enjoying this interview with Bobby Horton. I feel like throughout our talk, you can really tell that not only does Bobby love what he does and the stories that he gets to tell through his music, and what we get into a little later, his performances with Three on a String, but Bobby loves where he's from. He loves the South. He is just somebody who cares so deeply about it, and takes pride in being from here, which I think is awesome. And so I hope y'all are enjoying this interview with Bobby. If this is your first time listening to Southern Fried, welcome. This is a show that seeks to explore the South through its people like Bobby who love it. So if this is your first time, go listen to some more episodes. We have some great ones out there. If you're a returning listener, thank you so much for listening to these Southern Fried episodes and being on this journey with us as we continue to explore the South. If you want to hear any of Bobby's music, you can go search him up on Spotify or Apple Music. He's got all his stuff there. He's got tons and tons and tons and tons of albums of just different time periods through history. So it's really cool. I recommend checking him out. You can also go to bobbyhorton.com to read a little more about him. But I hope you all are enjoying this interview. And let's get back to the show. I want to get to Three on a String a little bit too. I want to talk about them, but
I want to ask you, just kind of while we're still talking, Civil War era music. One thing about me is I was a choir kid growing up. So, we sing different pieces. I want to ask you if you are familiar with the song Tell My Father.
Tell My Father. No, I'm not.
All right. Well, hey, look, who would have thought that I'd be the one giving you a suggestion?
It's
Civil
definitely
War-
a period piece. Is
Civil
it a
War
period?
era song called Tell My Father. I think you should give it a look. Look it up.
I will do that. But I will.
How about me?
Is it-
Y'all be on the lookout for Bobby's next album. You'll know that I had a little hint.
Yeah, as Floyd the Barber said, you bet I will.
So let's talk a little bit about Three on the String. This is your musical group.
Yeah.
How'd y'all get started? What are y'all about? Give us a little bit about.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was well, first of all, Jerry Ryan was he was a basketball coach at Inslee High School when I was a student there.
Okay.
And then I went on to Sanford where I got my degree. And I was a junior, and Jerry got named the freshman basketball coach at Sanford. He was a great coach. And anyway, there was a fella named Warren Musgrove who was the PR guy for Sanford University. But he also owned a place called Horse Fence 40, which was a beautiful place close to Steele, Alabama, up on a mountain. And he came to Jerry one day and he said, Jerry, I'm having a folk festival. That's where craftsmen come up and sell their stuff. And said, don't you know somebody plays a banjo? I said, yeah, I do. He goes to school here. And he said, would y'all come up and play at my folk festival? And they said, yeah, I was so and checking. So I was able to come. And so we went up there on a Sunday afternoon, and we knew Jerry and I had learned 7 tunes, play guitar, and I was playing banjo. And we learned 7 tunes. We played them twice and made $15.
How about that? What
yes,
year?
sir. That's hey, buddy, that's $7.50 a piece.
Anyway,
Said,
that was right.
Yeah, 71.
So does $7.50 carry you a while in 1971?
Well, gas was about 50 cents a gallon, so yeah, you could go to Atlanta and back on that. Anyway, but there was a guy there that happened to be my boss because when I was at Sanford, I had 5 jobs, because I was I was having to hustle my way through. In one of them, my primary job, and the one I loved the most, made the most money, was working for Alabama Music Center. And the owner, George Pruitt, was a great musician from the big band era. But he liked all kinds of music, and he heard us up there and said, you guys sound pretty good, not to just throwing that together. He said, man, why don't you get you a guy playing an upright bass and singing a high-hearted part? And I said, you might have something. So we said, hey, okay. And I talked to a guy, I went to Sanford with John Vest, great guy.
Yeah.
Very talented fella and just a superb human being. And so we threw it together and played something, and it went over. And then Best David Country Club asked us to come play a thing on Friday nights. Next thing you know, we ended up playing a place called the Lowbrow, and then we learned how to play, well, quite honestly, for drunks, and and learn how to stay ahead of people, and learn how to keep a show moving and what works and what doesn't, and we got real silly and started learn how to do comedy bits and all that, and then eventually we hit the road and was playing conventions. That used to be the big deal, was the convention world, and 9/11 killed it, but we were working hard at that for years, and I went all over the country doing that kind of stuff, and ended up playing symphony pop things, and it just snowballed into a career. And I was working at Liberty National, I had an accounting degree, and I majored in accounting and economics, and ended up leaving that in 1978 after my first son was born, my first child, and because I left the fun of the insurance company for the security of the music world, Anyway, but it worked. Now, once again, the Lord gave opportunities, and and I just sort of knew it. I was working with two good, two guys who were just really great, Andy McGinnis and Jerry Ryan, and it's it's just been a wonderful ride,
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and but that's here again. It fell in my lap. All of it fell in my lap.
Y'all have a quote I found once that says you just want people to feel better when they leave your show. So is that like y'all just go out and just want to put on the best possible good time for these people. I think that's incredible.
Well, if you love people and you don't go, if as long as you're not playing the "Hey, look at me, ain't I something" game,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I
I
think
mean,
it speaks a lot about what you're saying about, as humble as you're being, though, all this fell in your lap. But I feel like maybe you want to give a part of that back to people somehow, and so it's through this music and giving them a good show you're able to do that.
well, we're great people have been come to see us and kept us in business. And it's funny, your enemies don't come see you. So everybody that comes to see you play is your
Yeah,
friend.
as a friend.
We look at it that way. And we don't try to impress. We want to have fun with them and want them to know that we're going to have fun. Why don't you jump on board with us,
Yeah,
because we realize how lucky we are, how blessed we are. And I mean, every time I go to work, whether I'm doing solo thing or with a group or whatever, this could be the most fun I ever had in my life going to work. I mean, and that's the truth.
it's better than
This,
the finance world, huh?
well, that was a lots of fun, but honestly, I feel guilty because I mean, I just love every day. I mean, I don't care if it's Monday or Wednesday, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, or Sunday or Friday, it doesn't matter. Every day is a pretty good day.
And
So,
it feels like you kind of have something different every day too. I mean, are you always writing new stuff or practicing stuff? Like, what all does that look like for you?
well, right now I'm doing a thing for APT, and I'm having fun with it. They're doing a thing where they have the 50, those 1 minute spots with history of Revolutionary War, to go along with
Okay.
the 250th for the
Sure.
country.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing period music for those spots, and it's so much fun. I'm loving that, and getting to do that right now. And I just talked to a guy at a university. I'm gonna go be doing well, they're combining the film. They have films class. They have different history people and all coming together, film and music, and I'm doing a seminar with them, and stuff. And I get paid to do that. I just sit around and talk about what I love, you know.
A lot of people's dreams there, I think, with that one.
Well, yeah, what my daddy one time I told him, I said, Pop, what what was you? How would you feel if you would you rather go to Long Lewis and do your job, or would you rather get paid to go fishing? He says, I don't know. Well, duh. I said, hey, well, see, I get paid to go fishing.
Yeah.
That's what I get paid to do. That is my job, going fishing.
Yeah.
That's my fishing trip, is going to play music. And he said, can you imagine that? And he said, well, yeah, I can see what you're saying. And I said, yeah,
It's
you know,
good.
yeah. One time we were watching, I have to keep my nails. If I play kind of a classical guitar thing, sometimes I have to keep my nails filed and all that.
Okay.
On my right hand. And I was I have to put all this nail hardener on there where I won't break my fingernails. And so we were watching NASCAR one day because that's what we did on Sundays. I snuggled up to him and said, hey, Father, was it always your dream to sit and watch NASCAR with your son while he does his nails? As a World War II guy,
I'm sure. I'm sure you love that.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's incredible. So, look, I don't also don't want to let three on a string go without making sure everybody knows y'all are 2023 Alabama Music Hall of Fame inductees,
Well, we were lucky, like I
which
say.
is a pretty incredible feat for y'all.
Well, well, it was an honor. Well, I give that honor to Jerry Ryan. This was his concept. He kept the group. He ran the group. He managed the group. That was what he did. And a lot of his philosophies are what we do. And so that's really a tribute to him in my book. I mean, I just along for the ride and had fun doing it.
It's cool to see y'all there for sure.
Well, I'm very honored to be there, but like I say, that's Jerry Ryan. That's my book. So great guy. He had to retire, but his son Brad is taking his place, and we're still getting after it real hard. So
Yeah. Y'all
having it fun.
you talked about right now you're doing some work for APT, Alabama Public Television, I assume.
Yes, sir.
But you're doing some Revolutionary War stuff. I'm interested to know. You have a listener, if you want to go to Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, you look at all of Bobby's albums. I mean, it's a ton. Civil War era, Revolutionary era, American West. Out of all of those, do you have like a time period that you love more than the others, and what would that be?
Well, yes, I'd be 19th century because that's really when the music business got its legs. Is in the 19th century. The Civil War brought music to the forefront, and it became people making a living with it. You
Yeah.
know, and you had all these instruments coming in. It is. I studied because of, well, backtrack just a bit. Because I was surrounded by World War II guys, I became a World War II fanatic because I got them telling me stories. I got them from the horse's mouth. And I met World War One guys. J. Terry Tant's grandfather talked about getting gassed in World War One. Having a gas attack, and he had to put on his mask and all this stuff. I realized early on that people like my daddy and Terry's grandpa made history. That's who makes history. It's just normal people, and that's when I sucked into history. So by the time that I was 9, that started the centennial celebration of the Civil War. And of course, I'm already a World War One and World War II buff, and so I just fell into that.
Might as well.
Yeah, I mean, because it happened all around us. You could go here in Birmingham area. 10 minutes, I can be over at the Irondale Furnace, and the Yankee troops came to and tore it down and during the Civil War. It's around you. It's around here. It happened here.
And it's a little more, you're hearing the World War II stories from the horse's mouth, but the Civil War era, you can go out and actually see where all this stuff happened.
Yeah, exactly. And, once you read their stories, at one point now, the number one most written about subject in the world was Jesus Christ and his teachings and Christianity and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Number 2 was American Civil War.
Wow.
There were, as in 1960, there were 56,000 titles registered with the Library of Congress pertaining to the Civil War.
Wow.
And I heard a buddy of mine who's now long gone, but he's Dr. James L. Robertson. He was a world-class historian, and I worked on the Delta Queen steamboat and the American Queens, all those steamboats, and did music on those boats, and got to travel with all these Civil War historians.
Yeah.
And he said, and I heard him say more than once, that for every day since April 9 of 1865, when General Lee surrendered Army Northern Virginia, in the ending, really, that was pretty much the end of the war. There's been a book or a pamphlet published on the American Civil War for every day since then.
That's incredible.
It's mind-blowing, and it's a worldwide phenomenon. And I never would have dreamed it, but I learned it when I produced all that music.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I mean, I could drop names, even as if it were, me being a big shot, of people that I have met who I could talk to who are actually household names that are Civil War buffs. Not kidding you. It's amazing. It's amazing. And anyways, but that's my favorite era because I got so sucked into that.
Sure.
And I know, I guess, more about that than that in World War II, I guess. But it is just an incredibly interesting time. It's one I would never, ever, ever want to see or live through.
Yeah.
But I admire the people who did their duty and lived through this thing. It's just incredible. And their music was it's in their music. It's sustained them. Music, 2 things, their faith and music.
Yeah.
Sustain them. That's all the common man had, was his faith and his music, and it was that important to them.
I think it's interesting to think, at least from the American perspective, that the Civil War, I mean, was probably one of the last major wars to our country that you have to go back to figure out what happened. Like World War I,
Yeah.
World War II are decently documented, right? Like we know, but the Civil War is like, you have to go back in time and do what you're doing and finding these pieces and writing the music and recording it. And I think that even kind of makes it more of this like mystery, which makes it more and more interesting to learn about. I thought you were going to say Civil War when I asked you that question, but I was still planning out to see what would happen. But the hunch was right. So, Bobby, I've really enjoyed talking with you. I usually like to kind of start wrapping up my conversations with my guests by asking them a question to get their gears turning a little bit about Southern Fried. Let's say for some reason one day you and I reverse roles, and you were the podcast host of this show, and you had to get somebody from the South for this show, who are you calling up? Who do you think would be a good fit?
Of
Sure, I'm
course.
sure you have a Rolodex of people.
Yeah, really. I was going to say one of the most interesting people I ever knew was Shelby Foote, but he's not with us anymore. And Bud Robertson, same story. Gosh, there's it's too many.
Yeah.
You stumped the band. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. I knew like Bob Bradley, who was in the Alabama archives, but I would definitely talk to him and they're guys. I mean, yeah, that is a one. You have stumped the band.
Well, a reason I like to ask that question is, whether or not these people, when I ask that question, whether or not any of those people ever actually come on the show. It's this idea that of the people I've interviewed so far, that you just hear of so and so from this state who has this background, and it's interesting to hear what, man, like the South is really defined by so many different characters.
Yeah.
And so
I do have a suggestion for Sean Dietrich.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah, Sean is an amazing person. He truly is. He's almost like a godson to me now, But yeah, he'd be a wonderful interview.
Awesome. Yeah, y'all just did y'all finish a couple shows together recently? Is that right?
Oh yeah. We've done that. In fact, he works with 3 on Straight sometimes. We not very often, but sometimes we just did New Year's Eve together, and I was on his Christmas show. Well, he had a Christmas show at the Virginia Sanford Theater, and I was fortunate enough to sit and play with that. He is an amazing person and an incredible musician, but he's very smart and just a wonderful human being. He truly is, and he's Southern.
Yeah, it's actually in the title, so he's for sure.
Yeah, it kind of is. But he is just an incredible human being. He really is.
Oh, well, great. That's great suggestion, great pool. Bobby, I cannot thank you enough for us finding time to do this and getting to talk. I could probably sit and pick your brain for 3 hours, but I think 40 minutes is probably enough right now. So I can't thank you enough.
Well, Charlie, I enjoyed talking with you, and I thank you so much for considering me. That's honored to be on your show, man.
Well, I appreciate it, Bobby, and I'll be listening to your music probably on the car ride home. My wife got in the car the other day, and I have one of those car plays and it shows all the recent albums I've been listening to, and I think she was pretty stumped when I had music of the Union Army and the Confederate Army and the Revolutionary War. I think she was thinking, "What are you listening to when you're driving the car?"
Hey, that's great. That is great. Well, honestly, it's incredible. It's incredible work. It's incredible music that they produced, that they wrote and sang. I mean, it's just really well written stuff, and I'm impressed with it. And it's an honor to be able to find them and try to throw those tunes back. And you can't help but think that maybe, just maybe, up in heaven, this guy said, "Hey, they're playing my tune. Listen, they're playing my tune. I wrote that on a rock in Tennessee when I was doing picket duty." Anyway, I like to think that's what's going on.
Yeah, I love it, Bobby. Again, thank you so much.
But Charlie, it's a pleasure talking with you, sir. God bless.
God bless. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, that concludes our interview with Bobby Horton. Look, like I said in the intro, when this project started a few months back, Bobby was one of the first people that was suggested to me that I didn't know. I had people suggest to me, that I knew I had relationships with, but Bobby was the first person that I had no idea who he was, and through this podcast, got to meet him, talk with him, and honestly, it feels like I gained a friend. That's just it's really cool to have those connections. And please, if you have somebody that you think would be good for the show, reach out. I want to talk to them. I want to get them on Southern Fried. I want to continue to explore the South with as many different people as we can. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow Southern Fried on Instagram. We are also on TikTok and other places, but we're really involved on Instagram. Go give us a follow. You can reach out to Southern Fried through there too if you have any suggestions. But want to continue to grow this and let people know that Southern Fried is a podcast and exists, so they can listen and they too can join the journey with us of exploring the South. Thank you guys for listening, and y'all come on back.